What is going on, everybody? Luke here, and today we're going to be talking about the cash flow preparations that I'm going to be doing for Q4 2021 and talking through the strategies and thought process of how I'm going to get ready so that I've got enough cash flow, enough capital available to potentially maximize my Q4 and, you know, almost being a little bit over proactive. Maybe that's not the word, but, you know, being proactive before we get there in making sure I've got enough capital available, even if I do not use all of it. It's better to have it, even if I don't use it. So I'll be talking through, starting with my favorites and walking through and explaining, but we're going to start with capital on top. Yes, I currently have the Business Reward credit card. I have a £50,000 limit. They have up to 100, and they got various other little things down here, and you can get bonus points to sign up and stuff. And I basically take the 1% cash back. So over Q4, I haven't actually done it with the 50k limit before, because I think I had 20 last Q4 or something. But I can definitely see myself making maybe £600 or £700 cash back. It just depends on what cards I use and how much I use them, and what's the best mix of cards I use. Meaning different cards give you different rewards, so it just depends on how I mix them up. And the reason that I love this is that you can get the cash back, but you have to make sure you pay off the full balance in advance. So again, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. This is just me giving you my opinion on how I'm going to strategize for 2020 Q4 for optimal cash flow potential usage. Yes, you might start off with a low limit when you take out the card, but that's why, you know, it's good to have these things prepared in advance, because if you go ahead and go, oh look, Q4's coming up, let's look to maybe get a credit card to get a little extra capital. They only give you a £3,000 limit. There's only so much you can do with £3,000. You know, I've had mine for years now, so obviously I know that it's not something you can just suddenly get a £50,000 limit, but you've got to start somewhere, and it's better to have the cash there and not use the card than wish you had access, especially when it's like 56 days interest free. So you know, in theory, you could use it at the end of November, the full balance. You get all your December payout, and you can pay it off. But you've had access. You know, in my case, $50,000 could do 100 grand in sales over that month. It's probably more. I could probably do like for $50,000. I could probably do like 250 grand sales from at the end. I say roughly like end-ish of November to end-ish of December, give or take. Something, you know, it could be less, could be more, whatever. And so that's why I like it, because you get the cash back as a bonus. But what I also do is I do not spend every penny that I have, and normally, not in all cases, but I normally try to have the cash in the bank in my business account as a backup. So for example, if you had no card, you would go ahead and use $50,000 in the bank, and you would have no money, and then you wouldn't have a credit card. If you've got a card like this with $50,000, I'll spend the $50,000, their money, not my money. I'll then retain the $50,000 in my bank, and then I'll get like a premium on top, as you might call it, for the cashback. And I'll literally repeat that process depending on what cards I use. So the money will get withdrawn from Amazon to my account, and then I'll try to offset it 1-to-1. So if I spend $100,000 on the credit cards, for example, I've got $100,000 in the bank. I spend $5,000, so on and so on. Not all cases that happens. Sometimes right at the core of Q4, like in December, I might overstretch myself because I know that the interest on some of the cards for a short amount of time, you know, let's say 1 month's worth of interest, that's it, it's £500 per $5,000 or something. You know, I'll be able to make off $5,000 at least $1,000. So therefore, I would offset. I'd be like, well, yes, I have to pay for $500, but I can make an extra $500 premium on top. The net result is £500 profit off of that transaction, rather than not touching or not acting like that. So in that case, I would use the card, but then I would start using my own money, knowing that over, you know, that scenario plays out in my favor. But I'd only use that at extremely high volume and crazy times purchasing, so that where you can basically turn over your stock fast. So I could spend $10,000 today, and by next week I could sell the whole lot. It'd be, you know, let's say $20,000 in sales, and you make, I don't know, whatever you make, and that's the only way that I will adapt to that strategy for the Q4 period. And so, you know, and yeah, that's it. If you want to sign up, it costs £99. You might think, oh, but maybe not. Maybe I'd want it. Maybe I don't. Maybe I'm not going to get £99 in a year. It's basically what you've got to do to get, you know, for it to be at least viable. But what you can do is you sign up with my link below if you want, if you haven't got a card yet, and you get accepted for a card on your first purchase. I don't know, £10 something. You'll get £75 for free, and I'll get £75 for free. Or if you just sign up normally, nothing happens, and you just pay £99. And so that, at least that £75 almost pays for that. Or if you just want it and yeah, whatever. You get what I mean. And that's why I like this card, because, you know, I don't use it, I don't max out the card all the time, but I know that I'm getting some cash back, and I'll always default this as my first card to basically push through it just to get the cash back. So, second card that I've semi-recently got, maybe this year sometime, is the Amazon Business American Express card, because for some reason I couldn't ever get an American Express, like the gold or whatever versions they have for business. And then one day I was like, I got an email or something, and I was like, I'll just apply for it, because you don't have to use it. Yes, I think the first year is free for most of the time. It's most things have some sort of offer, like it's free for the first year, and then it's like £100 or something. But again, I think I had £3,000 limit. So, you know, even with a bit more experience behind me in terms of the business, they still only gave me a £3,000 limit. Now, if I was doing that, you know, if I didn't need it now, because I don't need it now, I don't need this card now, and I waited, and I was like, oh, I really need it. It's too late. I want to try to increase that limit over time, spend a bit on it, just to get that traction and history through the account to then up the limit. And what did I do? The other day, I logged in, and it said increase your limit. I clicked the button. I was like, oh, I might as well see. Went to $13,500. Now I don't even use this card, but now I have the option to use $13,500 come Q4. And the reason that I like it is that if I ever want to buy something through Amazon, I can get a 1.5% back. So it's higher, you know, even though it's not in cash. If I know I'm going to spend the money on Amazon anyway, let's say you buy in prep materials if you're prepping. I don't, but say you are. You want to buy something off Amazon for the business, and you know you do, like a laptop or something, I don't know. And in preparation, you can start using this card knowing you're going to get a higher percent overall back than using something like a Capital On Tap where you're only getting a percent. And so that's why I sort of like, you can like mix and match how you use them depending on what you want, what you prefer to have. Again, like you can get Avios points. What else can you get? I don't know, other things you can probably get. But that's why I have this, because if I ever want to use it because I want that, great. I've got £2.16 balance, whoop. But also I have this in reserve. So I won't necessarily use this if I don't need to. I'll go to the other cards that I need, but it's there. And again, I could, you know, I could use it a bit over Q4 and then maybe up the limit next year sometime. Again, not use it for a lot of the year, put some stuff through it and sort of process it that way. So it's better to have the capital available than not. Now, the next one that I actually use, that I just got accepted for today, is I actually finally got a American Express Gold. I was going to apply for that premium one, but I thought it's probably a bit ballsy sort of going straight in for I think it's like £600 a year membership, and I thought, you know, I'll start off here and we can work our way. But I can try to get some nice, you know, no annual fees for the first 12 month. Like I said, a lot of them offer that. Yeah, it does go up after that. But if I can basically just try to, you know, maximize this in terms of if I'm looking to fly next year. Now, the reason I never bother applying for this for the last year and a half or year or something is because no one's been able to do anything with Avios points as such. Well, they have if they want to convert for hotels and stuff, but not so much. But I've now got this, and it will probably be a very low limit. Do they even have limits? I don't even know. I don't think they actually do. I think it's unlimited. Is it unlimited? Someone can tell me anyway if you know. And I just thought, yeah, you know, even if there is a limit, let's just imagine there is a limit. I'm going to start putting some traction through it, you know, and that's all I need. I don't want to necessarily utilize this now. I just want the access, the cash flow, because I'm 5 years into this journey. If I was preparing, you know, I should have done better. I should have prepared in advance better, because many Q4s, you always run out of money or you're close. It's not, you know, and only really as I'm progressing to the point where I am now, I'm not so much like, oh my God, I'm running out, because I have instant disbursements as well, which is a massive help. I don't have a 14-day waiting, whatever it is. I have day 24 hour. So over Q4, once you start building, you know, get a day of 20 grand in sales, like on the best day of 20,000 something. And obviously if I get 11 grand back or whatever it ends up being cleared the next day, obviously the next day after that I get 11 grand in the bank, so it's not so terrible then. It's just at the beginning of Q4 before you've not necessarily got all of that traction and volume selling yet. It's slowly increasing but not going crazy. But again, this is something that I might use because I'm looking to fly next year and I want to push it through to get the points, and obviously I want to get the bonus points while I'm here. Literally 3 grand in the first 3 months, easy. You know, in Q4 I could spend 20 grand a day in a week, whatever it ends up being. So, but this is something that's going to be on the side because I don't necessarily know if I'm going to use it, but I can strategize not only for this Q4 but for next year if I want to use it maybe to fly. The next option you can use, and this is pushing to like the sort of more emergency reasons, is something like iWalker. I've used them, but they are pretty crappy with their interest. The interest is weighted up front, so the first month payments will be higher interest. So you might pay, I say you got a 10 grand loan, the first interest might be 500 quid the first month. So just for having it a month, you've got to pay £500 or £600 interest, and then the next month it'll be like 480, and you can see how that, you know, if you've got a 6 month loan, how that can add up to a couple of grand. So I only ever take this out for a very short term, because you can pay it all back instantly whenever you want for with no problems, with like no upfront fees and all that kind of thing. So basically I normally take it out. I don't think I'll ever need it this year, but this is for other people that may not have so much access to the capital that they require. And also you can apply for it, but you don't have to draw down, so you can actually apply for it, see if you're able to get anything, because they connect it to your Amazon account, look at your turnover, and they access it that way. That's how they calculate it. But you don't have to, you have like 30 days to draw it down, so you don't even necessarily, you could prepare for this in like October October. You don't necessarily need it right away, and sometimes they can give you an extension. But I would usually only use this for a month. I'd pay like the £600 up front in the first month interest, but I would have got 10 grand, and I would have spent that 10 grand right away within the first couple of days of taking it. So I'd wait until I literally needed it, get the money that day, use it. I wouldn't have like 10 grand in the bank and be like, yeah, let's get it now, because every day is going to be accruing interest. I'd only get it at that last second, and then I would pay it back pretty much within 3 to 4 weeks. And so I pay one lot of interest, like 500 or 600 quid, but I've used 10 grand. I've recycled that through. Maybe I've done 20 grand in sales. I've made 2 grand, I don't know, 3 grand profit, whatever. But anyway, the same scenario as what I was saying earlier. I've made more than the cost of the interest. And so it's like an in and out, sort of game here, because it's really not great in terms of the interest. It's terrible. If you get caught up in it, you can't afford to pay it back or something, then it's really bad, because the interest can get pretty serious. But you can see it all break down before when you apply and stuff. You get shown it, and the interest is different for everybody. So again, it's very difficult to say based on how you're going to apply for it and get what results you'll get. Now, the only other thing that I will use, again, is my normal HSBC bank. Of course, I only have a 3 grand overdraft for some bizarre reason. They gave me that like years ago, and I've just never had it increased. So I have to, whenever I go to click apply for an extension or whatever to bump it up, they always say, please contact the branch. I'm like, I can't be bothered. Like, we're in the 21st century. Why can't we just click everything else? You can click a button, it just bumps it up. Like in the American Express, Amazon, click a button, click how much do you want to increase your limit? Yes, here's the extra 10 grand. Like, phone them up, wait 2 hours, because due to COVID, we are experiencing high volume. Like, it's been like 2 years of high volume calls. Anyway, so I've got 3 grand, but of course I still can utilize the HSBC, well, the government bounce back loan that I applied for ages ago. I'm starting to pay that back now, it's fine, but I can use that as well. So that's going to be like the reserve that I have, utilizing the other aspects of the card. And again, if you really want, you can use your Amazon loan if that's something you want to use. I have one, and it is nice to sometimes have it, but also I know people that have been offered 120, 200 grand. It's like, what are you going to do with 200 grand? Like, you might be able to use some of it, but definitely after the Q4 period, are you going to be able to, with the money you've already got on hand and the interest. So in a way, it's almost better to have a slightly lower limit. I think 32 grand's the highest I've ever got, which is not that high compared to a lot of people actually that are doing similar sales. So it's not always like you doing X sales, you're getting this. It's not always like that. And so actually, in my mind, long term, I want to phase out that Amazon loan, or sort of figure out a way that I could utilize it, or maybe keep it lower, because anything too high is not going to be able to I'm not going to be able to utilize the amount, and then the interest will obviously start to actually matter, because it might be like a grand interest a month. Well, if I can only use 50 grand, then what's the point of me taking the 200 grand? And that's the issue you get with the Amazon loan. And so as you do grow, it's not always viable to carry on taking it out. And so I'd rather keep it to the easier and more sort of not illegitimate, but more legitimate sort of like credit cards and stuff that actually give you a return in some way. You get cash back, or obviously the Amazon loan doesn't, and it charges you. So it's nice that it comes out of your balance, and it maybe makes you feel more secure that they've got like a skin in the game. They've got money invested in you. But in terms of like rewards or getting something back, it doesn't really happen, or you don't get it with the Amazon loan. So that's why I haven't really discussed that, because it's not always something you can apply for. You get offered it, and if you don't get offered it, you can't have it. And so that is literally it. And so this is basically how I'm going to do it. And that's why I always say with some of these cards, I probably didn't need I didn't need the American Express, both of the American Expresses at all. I don't even really need like the Capital On-Top. Just up my limit over time every couple of months if I paid it off in full, and it just kept chipping away like that. But I want to have the access to capital if I need it, and if I don't need it, I'll make sure that I cover within 1 year enough to cover the cost of the card, whatever that may be. Obviously, some of them are free for a first year anyway. I'll make sure that I cover that, so that I'm not obviously getting charged for not using it. And then I'll strategize next year for next year, and so on and so on. Obviously, at some point, if you've got 500 grand, you don't have to keep doing that strategy, but most people will. Definitely like more beginner intermediates looking to scale. I think it's better than not to try to be prepared, so that you can just chip away and maybe get a little bit of an increase, before Q4 comes, or during Q4 comes, which will help you improve your business and long-term sales targets, profit targets, everything. So I'm going to leave the video there. Any questions or comments, or you want to know anything about what I use in a bit more detail, let me know. But yeah, thanks for listening, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.